Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Best Served Cold, Joe's first standalone, and the next First Law entry after the original trilogy. And on this episode, it's a special one. We do a spoiler review of the first half of the book. So, let's get started. As usual, we want to thank you all for your support, your kind support. You guys have been very, very dedicated, funny, right? And loyal supporters.
Absolutely.
Been great.
It's good to see we have this little Discord with quite a few people in it who I hope they all listen to the podcast, but little good Discord server where we see like feedback and funny things like that. And we do occasionally still get a message and the occasional email. Although I think at this point everyone who is listening has already emailed us, so it kind of has to dry up at some point there, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But we still love doing it for everybody. Whether you love the podcast or just listen to it because your friend pressures you into it. So
we're all about the peer pressure here. We're all about the peer pressure. This is want to thank you all. You guys have been great. It's a great little hobby to have for fun. Take the mind off things. Oh, and please follow us on the social medias and on our YouTube page. That'd be great. That'd be fun.
Yes, the boys have been very active on YouTube lately. They've been really trying to get the episodes out there for people who obviously it doesn't matter on this podcast, but we're pretty proud of it. They've been pumping out the episodes to try to catch back up on YouTube. So
we have been. George, you and me gotta get back on that. We got up to what, 50 or something like that?
Yeah,
halfway there.
As soon as I'm done editing this episode that's coming out this Friday, which is 2 weeks ago for you guys listening. So by the time you're listening to this, it might actually be caught up. We might have caught up for every single episode.
And if we are caught up, then somebody who's listening on YouTube in 4 years will be like, wow, that's really nice.
George, we got to get together because I told you I kind of have things messed up in terms of how it's saved in my computer. So remember I told you I was like, wait a minute, episode 51 is actually the guest spot and I fucking numbered it wrong. Remember? So I need your tech savviness to save me from my own.
Oh my god.
Skin. Save my own skin. Anyway, what was that, George?
How did you do that?
I just went through numbering it, but then no, I numbered the episodes correctly in terms of where I saved it. But in Buzzsprout, if you notice, when I was uploading some of the episodes, I skipped numbering the special guest ones.
Right, yeah. There is a bit of a formatting error for anybody looking on Spotify or anywhere else.
Podcast. So that's on me. That's on me, folks. I thought,
which is why a couple of months ago as well, I said that we were at episode 90 and we were on episode 85, but we'd released 90 episodes because of what you're saying there.
Yeah.
So, well, on the bright side, I don't think people really care about this shit. We'll probably have to cut some of it out.
Yeah, that's fine. They're gonna hear it all. George, make sure they hear it all. But anyway, thank you all again. Really do appreciate it. So we'll move on. And we don't have a chapter read through necessarily, but we'll start off by reviewing or talking about certain aspects from the part 1 and 2, right? And, in Best Served Cold, this is, as we've talked about, the literary version of Tarantino meets Lord of the Rings, so to speak, or Tarantino meets Game of Thrones, either way, without the foot fetish. But as you long-time readers will know, and first-time readers will find out soon enough, there is another kind of fetish. Gonna pop its little fucking face, pop its little head up in this.
Yeah, there are a lot of weird fetishes in Joe's works, aren't there?
In Joe's,
they're not. Hey guys, no fetish shaming. They're not weird, okay? They're just a thing. Okay.
You mean no kink shaming?
No, that too. They're either one. Get off your high horse, Jeffrey.
So, listen, I showed you guys my stash. I don't kink shame.
So, as for the kinks, we talked a lot more about Shivers than I think I ever have. In this particular, I mean, it's kind of the point, right? He's a POV character, but I'll just say I don't know if for any characters for you guys, you look at them differently since we started doing this podcast. But for me, Shivers, whether it's for me trying to look for more or you guys saying something I never thought of, Shivers is definitely way more complex than when I first started the series. What about for you guys? Is there a character that's ever since we started doing this has popped out more, especially in Best Served Cold?
Shivers?
Yes, Shivers for me. Or are you saying it for you too?
No. I thought you were asking me to talk about Shivers as a character that's popped out more.
Yeah, because basically, as a character who is you didn't really think about as much when you read this book. Like I always kind of put Shivers off to the side. Like it was kind of like, okay, yeah, here we have a Shivers chapter. But now, reading it with you guys, I've thought about it more in a different way. He's more complex now because I've had to think about it in a better way. So I wasn't sure if you guys felt the same way about other people or.
So first and foremost, I will say, I do think Shivers is Joe's most fleshed out character in the series.
Really? Ever? Like of all the characters?
I'm talking about fleshed out, right? Because think about it. We see him as a youngin in the original trilogy, a young adult still somewhat, and then we get his perspective here in Best Served Cold, and everybody that knows he goes through a certain kind of transformation, and he's in his mid-20s at this point, creeping on early 30s. Then what we see from him in the Heroes is like a complete fucking 180, right? But it makes sense in terms of where his story has been going so far. And then in Red Country, we don't get a lot of him, but every time he's on page, we get there's like that sense of foreboding, right? Like, oh, is he gonna see who we think he's gonna see? Is he gonna see? Oh, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? And then that not to spoil the end of Red Country, but just that whole part, the ending where he just kind of just lets go and accepts what had happened in the past. And actually that's the moment where he truly decides, I'm going to be a better person. Actually, I'm really going to do it. Turns around. And then we see him in his elder years, his child rearing years or whatever, and in Age of Madness. And it's like that is Shivers coming full circle. We talk a lot about how Joe's characters kind of end up where they started, or like making the same mistakes, not really changing, And there's some people that say that, and the people that say no, they have changed, they have progressed. I will say Shivers has a complete arc, a clear and complete arc that. If we don't see him post Age of Madness, right, further down the line, because old age and everything, I think he had the most complete, like, and when I say complete journey, I mean like we see it complete each stage, right? Shivers, we see him in every book, so it's not like Logan where we do get a culmination, right, of his journey in a certain book that we won't talk about, but we don't see him in every book. We don't see each part of his life, generally speaking, from the point we're introduced to him.
Yeah. What do you think, George? You think Shivers is the most
I think he is, and I definitely think he's the character that I appreciate more, having analysed this first half of the book, because it's very easy to just read it or just listen to it and kind of let it all pass over and just take it as it comes. And like you say, it's just another Shivers chapter. Let's see what's going to happen or whatever. But actually thinking about more of his inner monologue and his actions, it does become a lot more interesting.
Yeah, you definitely, like, you first read it, and even, I mean, when you first read it, for sure, it's kind of like, okay, this guy's kind of boring. And then when you reread it again, you find it a little bit more interesting, but it's still like it doesn't feel as interesting until you get to this, the chapter we just read where he starts doing crazy shit. Because then he's like, oh, he's so interesting now. But like, it's so sad too that so many people find that arc interesting whenever has to go through, so much pain to get. I don't mean just physical pain, but like he gets to that point because of his own mental issues and the physical pain, and he's like this for such a long time. It's sad. But yeah, Shivers is definitely up there. I mean, I've never heard somebody defend Morveer as much as Jeff has. I'm just saying.
Listen, all right. If you want to get into the Morveer antics, we can definitely do them. I will. Listen, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say about Morveer. Sociopathic narcissist. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. Braggadocio in his own way. He's not charming. He's not charismatic. He's not charming. He thinks he is, and that's the difference. You know what I mean? He's a guy that thinks he could read the room and play to the room, and then realizes the room left already, and he's still stuck in some fucking negative space, right? That's Morveer right there. Now, but he's like, all right. So we know he was in an orphanage and everything, right?
Right.
All right. Have either of you seen Deadwood?
Nope.
No. Okay. No. For anyone that has seen Deadwood, greatest show ever, he is, if Al Swearingen was a baby back bitch, right? He just was. That's no one really, like, they respect him for his craft, I guess, his ability to kill people, but in terms of like taking him seriously or people wanting to cultivate relationships with him, wanting that respect, he is the opposite, right? No one really gives we saw from not Day's perspective, because we don't see from her mind's eye, but from her communications with Monza, I believe, and I believe somebody else. I'm not sure. No, I think it was mainly Monza. That Day doesn't really think much of Morveer either.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, it's a little like, oh, Morveer can't even get no platonic appreciation from his own assistant.
I know, but he self-sabotages like all day long,
Well, yes, he self-sabotages with everybody else, but with Day, not really. Right? He tried, he comes off as very
it's like almost paternal, isn't he?
Yeah, I was gonna say very paternal, almost in a way, but
that's a weird word to use for that.
Okay, the way he communicates with her, as far as she knows, it's paternal.
Yeah,
and obviously inside his own head, he's kind of like vacillating between, do I want to give her a hug or do I get an erection? Like, he's obviously like, he's stuck between those two, right?
Yeah, but it's only because of it's only because his own like worries about it not working out and him being embarrassed because he's a narcissist. It's not actually because he would actually not go for it. If he was younger and less experienced, he would absolutely go for it.
Maybe, but when he did think about it, right? If I'm not mistaken, I can look for the chapter. He stopped himself not because of how she would react, but he thought in his head, like, as an assistant, that's the wrong line to cross. Didn't he say something like that? Or I could be wrong.
I know you're right, but what I mean is like that's because he's like, I don't know. It's just Morveer is like super unique character. Like he is one of the only characters it's written in the way that he is of Joe's. He's very unique because of that. But he's also utterly disgusting. You know what I mean?
And funny unintentionally most of the time. But that's something that I want to talk about as well. Where
his humor,
and friendly, and just the interplay between all of the characters is so much. I wouldn't say it's funnier than in the first floor. In the trilogy, because in the trilogy there isn't one character where you could just point out and go, well, that character's funny just for the sake of that. I mean, Giselle's infuriating, and the fact that he's so arrogant is funny.
Glock is funny, but also in a very like sad sack in a way. Although when he gets witty with his prisoners, which obviously we shouldn't condone. We don't condone, the Guantanamo Bay-esque treatment of prisoners. But Logan is funny. Remember when he was like him and Farrell were whack, 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 and he was like fill the milk up back in the bucket, that kind of thing.
But I really do think that there's a change here in Joe's writing where he kind of focuses on some characters being more comic relief in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're right. You're right.
Especially is very. He doesn't do much else, does he? Except be really fucking weird.
It does bring up an interesting point when you say that too. Like, how much does Joe do? Like, I had 6 characters in the first trilogy, so I need to have 6 characters in the other trilogies. Do you think that plays into a lot? There's only one book, or technically 2 books, where there aren't 6 main POVs. You know what I mean? Because everyone except for Red Country has 6 POVs.
Really?
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. I'm sure Best Stuff called that 7.
No, it's got 6, man.
Wait.
George is counting on his fingers like a true tech guy.
I have to know. I must know.
Monza, Koska, Morvir, Shivers, Shanked.
Friendly.
Shit, I can't even do 6. Oh yeah. That is 6. Yeah, you're right.
But they're all like that.
Yeah.
Except for
We forgot. We forgot the Chamberlain, Orso's Chamberlain.
Was he a POV?
No, I'm just messing with you.
Got him.
Just imagine we got his POV when Shank was like, "I do not kneel." He must have been like, "Motherfucker."
How dare he? The audacity.
Why won't he suck Orso's cock like I do?
No, that is interesting. The fact that they do have, you could say, and some people have said that I've seen that Friendly kind of feels like a bit of a fill-in. Like Joe was kind of hurting for another character, so he was like, "Oh fuck it, I'll just write this weirdo that's like institutionalized."
Yeah,
so
but
I would get that.
Yeah, but I do love the fact that it's such a ragtag group of people. Like each character is so different than the other.
Yeah.
So different. And I think that was intentional because I do think that was a very, Reservoir Dogs-esque kind of shit or Pulp Fiction. Like just a character, each character that you come on screen that you see that you at least are looking through their perspective, that's a unique character. That's for sure. That's a unique character.
And Joe is fantastic at writing disparate characters that they're all so fucking different, and none of them get along really for a very long time. None of these people like each other. Even when Monza and Shivers are banging, she still doesn't like him that much.
She's like, take a finger at the booty. Here you go. Hey, take that, champ.
See what you got.
Although we do see a budding friendship in this book. Come on now.
Koska and Friendly are definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
They're all fantastic duo.
2 peas in a pod. They fucking balance each other out perfectly.
Joe's really, really good at that, isn't he? At that kind of thing. He does it every single time, man. Every single time there is there are these relationships throughout the trilogy that they just work. He sets him up not on purpose. I feel like he writes these characters and then he gets to a moment of interaction and then they just click and he just rolls with it. That's what I think is so unique about the way he writes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could be wrong about that. It seems like he doesn't mean to set these characters up to get along, but then he just comes across these moments where they do.
I'm not sure if we can talk about it yet, but I like the fact that Koska and Friendly work so well together because Friendly never fucking says anything and Koska never shuts the fuck up. So you could just have Koska going on waxing poetic about this and that and whatever, and Friendly's just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but he also
loves
because
otherwise
it too,
you just have Koska talking to himself, or Koska being told to shut up.
That's a good point. Koska loves talking to himself, though. doesn't he? Well, actually, I don't think he does. It's interesting.
Well,
he has to have someone else. He has to find someone else to rant to every time.
That's a good point.
He doesn't mind talking to himself. I know that. Remember before Vittori and Monza find him, he's out yelling in the alleyway for no goddamn reason, yelling at God. He just needs to fill the space up in every room or any space that he's in. He needs to fill that air up.
Yeah, it's the same. He fills that up for the same reason he drinks and he loves excitement and fight and thrilling. I really would love to see, and I will never get it right. It's part of his character, but it'd be so interesting to see like his childhood life in Viscerain. Like what, like how he grew up, because he's obviously been this way for most of his life. I wonder. It's not with Koski. It's not like an event that changed him. I don't think. It's just like how he grew up and how he was raised. Maybe he grew up so well that all he wanted was excitement because he felt like life was so boring otherwise. I don't know.
He talked about it. He said that he was poor growing up.
I know, but I don't know.
And then he said he was like on the ground floor when they were building towers and they fell. So it was like for him his own personal 9/11.
No, that's a good. Damn it! I shouldn't have laughed at that. I was like, "Wow, that's a really good point, Jeff." And then I realized you were pulling my legs. It's funny.
Oh my god. Speaking of which, this is another character that is carried over brilliantly from the first trilogy, where he was sort of just kind of Glocta's, a bit of a foil to Glocta's seriousness, where Koska is just completely fucking off the hook and insane. Didn't really have much of a personality beyond that. And then obviously helps with Glocta's ploy in the end of the book. But again, beyond that, we didn't have really much else to his character other than he drinks a lot and he's a bit of a wastrel.
Yeah.
And laughs in the face of death, obviously.
I laughed in the face.
Exactly. But he's brought all of those characteristics over to this book and then expanded and then made it so much more interesting with that throwaway line in Before They Are Hanged with, that snake Mikato betrayed me, and then made a whole fucking story out of it. Which is, again, it's just a fantastic piece of writing. And whether or not that was planned, I don't know. I'd have to ask him one day.
It is a good question to know how much of it was planned. If we ever get him on the podcast, which one day I think we will. One day. We should definitely ask him, like, how much of these moments, interactions do you have planned out? Because this is where this book is, where we get so many of. This is where the whole book kind of shifts the tone of the first law. Like even from where we stopped. Like it's still like even reading Best or Cold in the beginning, even though it's a different story, it still kind of feels like the original trilogy. After the second half, I don't know why. It just feels different. I don't think it's worse or better. It just feels different. I don't know.
I don't want to talk too much about the second half, but I definitely think this first half is definitely more. Again, like you said earlier, before we started recording, but it's like the first half is a lot of setup.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of world building, and we get to know like the different cities and the different personalities of the different people, and getting, like you said, this ragtag group of people together. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
That's very. Yes, very true.
But it definitely does feel a lot like. And again, I think all of Joe's books feel very, very similar, which is just due to his the way that he writes. His style is very, very unique. I don't think I've ever read anything else in even close to the way that he writes.
Yeah, I really like too in this book how many characters are in here. I mean, Joe is good at writing these side characters, and obviously there's people like the Archlector. But in this book, like so many of them just feel a part of the group, like Vitari and Day. And then you have the other side characters that pop up later on too. But so many of the characters, they just feel like, even though they don't have a POV, that they're a part of the story in depth. Like it almost makes you think they do have a POV.
I mean, so many characters are related to each other in so many different ways. We'll talk about Sajam later, but Sajam is like, he's Friendly's boss, and he was also in cahoots with Monza early on in some way that we don't really know about.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just because We kind of, she was probably Bennett's drug dealer or something like that. But
no. He was Casca's underwriter or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, and Casca's underwriter as well.
He was his Temple. Temple too. Yeah, Wait a minute, hang on. We might have stumbled across something though. I know we won't talk about too much, but just saying, Temple's black. So is Sajam.
They're both accountant. Racist. He looks at these people.
He's a race collector, you piece of shit.
I'm just saying, it's weird that both of his accountants happen to be black. Just saying, it's a bit sus.
It's a bit sus. But they are both good at numbers, so at the same time.
That's what it is.
We don't know if Sajam's really good at numbers. We know he could read. That's what he's. Remember, he was reading.
Casca probably can't.
when Casca asked him, like, what does the fine print say about kids joining the military or whatever, the mercenary group? He goes, just says persons. Doesn't say anything about men or adults.
That's a good point. Yeah. Speaking of Sajam, I feel like he's one of those characters as well. But I also I know we had a character spot about him, and anytime we do a character spot, we're kind of like. We're glazing the side characters, you know what I mean? That's kind of the point. But that being said, I do feel like Sajam is probably one of the weaker side characters. And by weaker, I just mean he feels one of the most bland out of all the side characters that Joe writes. I don't know why. There's just not much going on there.
I mean, it does seem like an NPC where he just sits around in his smokehouse all day, every day. In the same position with the same guys around him, just waiting for someone to come in and cause some trouble,
Yeah, or ask for a favor. I know a guy. It's a job.
But I enjoy him. What do you think, Jeff?
NPC, yeah. Although without him, we don't get friendly, and we get the idea. We get. He walked with Shivers, right, to go meet Monza, even though he didn't know he was going to meet Monza. And he knew all along that Friendly was tailing his ass. And that's because they had that, agreement, maybe, unspoken or whatever the case may be. And he helped Monza out in more than one way, right? Connected her with Morveer and Vitari.
That's true.
And I don't want to say he fought to the bitter end. He survived barely to the bitter end until Shank decided to, say, it's a wrap, son. But we also know in terms of protecting Monza's whereabouts, her location and everything. But we also know from his own mouth that he was planning on betraying her and turning her over to Orso, which is funny. He was just waiting to see how much damage she can cause, and he goes, "All right, here you go, Orso. Just turn her over right now, you goofball. What the fuck you doing? Don't let her get no foothold. If you're gonna turn her over right the fuck now."
Sajam is the smartest, yeah.
You would think he would be able to I would have been like, yeah, I'm going to send her to this address. By the way, here you go, Orzo. Just in case you wanted to owe me a little favor down the line, Instead, he decided to wait until Monza's successful in killing his fucking son. And then he goes, maybe now I'll tell him that I helped Monza. Yeah, that's going to work out really well for you, Sajam. Yeah. Genius.
I still think he was just making that up to tell Shank so that maybe he'd spare him or something.
Maybe.
Because he obviously thinks that,
Shank is
Shank is after Monza.
Yeah, Shank is after Monza. Mm-hmm.
But I do find that very ironic in the end that Shank is kind of going after to save Monza, and then Sajam is also trying to save Monza, and then they ends up killing him anyway. Right.
Yeah, it is kind of weird knowing what Shank is after.
Right.
It is a little weird.
It kind of.
We'll have to get more into that psychology there way later on. But
we are going to need to, because if we're not.
I got some things cooking. I have some ideas.
Things cooking. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It is. I was not gonna lie to you. When I read it, and then when I reread it after knowing the whole truth of everything, I go, why did Shank kill Sajam and them? Truly, why didn't he just simply say X, Y, and Z? And then
also, I don't think he didn't. That's a good point. Yeah, he didn't have to murder all of them in order to get his point across.
who Shanked murders next. We'll see. Yes, we understand why. And then he decided to, have the age-old delicacy of liver with onions, but he didn't have to kill this group. He didn't have to kill Sajan specifically because, as far as we all know, interests were aligned. So
yeah.
That does definitely seem like one of those things in fiction where everything could be solved by a short
conversation. Yeah, it's literally a fucking conversation. Would have been fine.
Yeah,
and then
if there wasn't misunderstandings in fiction, then there would be no story.
Man,
just like real life.
You could still have a story. But then I guess if you don't have misunderstandings, then it's conflict resolution done in a positive way. And I guess that's not what we're about here in the first law.
Absolutely not.
No.
Although, I don't know. I wonder, too, like, when it comes to the first part of the book, I have a friend who basically, after the first part of the book, he couldn't read anymore. Not because he didn't think the writing was great, but because he basically says, this is just too much downtroddenness, like it's just too depressing. Nobody gets what they want, XYZ. Everything has to be negative and bad, and I fundamentally disagree with that. But do you guys think that the first part of this book is significantly weaker than the second half, or I don't know? Like, how would you compare the two halves?
I think the first half is just a fun adventure, and it's a very Jeff, like you said, it's very Reservoir Dogs, kind of Ocean's 11. Like a typical. We're gonna get the crew together, and we're gonna do some jobs, and we're gonna kill these guys. And then in the second half, it gets a hell of a lot more serious. Completely changes.
But you know what? I don't want to interrupt you, George. Go ahead. I'll remember what I'm gonna say.
But yeah, like I said, the tone completely changes, and it becomes about more than just Monster's revenge. Whereas this first half is just, I need my revenge, and these are the people that can help me, and they're all quirky and funny. And look at this, it's great,
That right there, that point. Yeah, the first part is her, talking about getting her revenge at any cost whatsoever, and then the second half is absolutely where it's like, oh, this is what it means at any cost. Oh. Right.
Oh, there are consequences to my actions.
Oh yeah. And I like how you like you said, like you mentioned that I mentioned earlier about it being kind of like Reservoir Dogs. If if you've seen the whole movie, you know that the last 30 minutes, 20 minutes, that is some intense shit. And you can you get that same feeling once we cross over to like Osprey. And then where do we end up again when the not Fontazarmo right before that with the League of Eight, the whole
that's in Talons. That's in
Talons as well. They do that shit in Orso's backyard. They do that. Because
they retreat to Fontazarmo, and so then the whole thing goes down in Talons because Talons was the original Imperial capital.
Imperial capital.
Yeah, of the new empire.
What are you talking about?
Talons was the new empire's capital.
The new empire on the west side of the world.
On the east side of the world.
East side of the world.
The old empire's in the west, and then there was the new empire in Styria, which also collapsed.
No. That's the new empire on the west side. They took influences from the new empire in Styria. I don't think there was a new empire in Styria, the land of Styria.
There was. Remember, they talk about it all the time. Kafka even talks about how, like, oh yes, the new empire. They go to the Osprey. Osprey is a imperial city. The new empire failed sometime, 500 years ago or something like that.
I'm pretty sure. I
think Harrison's right here. I think Harrison is right. It's.
I did a whole video about it, Jeffrey.
Listen. You might have done a whole video about it, but guess what? I don't care. Oh shit! Hold on. Centuries ago, Styria was united and ruled as the new empire. Fake news. I don't believe this. Okay, no. Okay, continue. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interject with my wrongness. Go ahead, George.
It does make sense because there's all this grand architecture of. Especially like in Osprey and Talons and Viserion as well, where there's no way that all of these feuding city-states could come up with all of this on their own. There has to be something else exactly like in Italy, in the medieval kind of period, where it was just a load of city-states, but they're all in basically the bones of the Roman Empire that is left over.
Right.
And that's why they had all of this architecture and infrastructure that they could use and build upon.
That kind of makes me wonder or want to ask about the new empire a little bit more. Harrison, I know you said you did a video.
I did. Yes. Go check it on YouTube. I was pretty proud of that one. Yeah.
I'll look at it because now I'm blanking on you probably went into deep historical analysis about it, right?
I did. Yeah. George watched it. How do you think I did, George?
I watched it. Yeah, I did.
So, okay. First of all, I'm gonna watch it. But second of all, because Burst of Cold is set in Styria, I'm gonna take the opportunity to talk about it a little bit. So, the new empire, do we know anything about it in terms of who ruled it, the offshoots, was Baez involved, or Kalul, or a different Magus?
I pretty much addressed all of that in the video.
Fuck. All right, never mind. Forget it.
Don't watch the video.
George, edit the shit out.
I'm happy to talk about it, Jeffrey. I just don't want to take a podcast time if you don't think it's going to be like. Are we keeping this in the record? Like you wanted to talk about it as part of the recording, or are you wanting it to be like?
I was. But then again, George is editing this one. So. Oh wait, am I editing this one, George?
You're editing this one.
Fuck. All right, keep it in. I'll decide later on if I keep it. But go ahead.
So, essentially, there's a couple ideas that I had, and a couple ideas that I think other people come up with as well. The main ones being that there's two solutions, really. One is that the new empire was a colony of the old empire. So whenever the old empire collapsed, the new empire kind of took up the mantle and said, yeah, no, we're still the empire, because why wouldn't they be? And they just continued that's why they still have they have similar architecture, and they have their big cathedrals and their halls, just like they did in Alcus that we saw. Very similar in that way. Yeah. My other thought is that it's maybe not a direct colony, and maybe they came over as leftovers, people running away from the old empire collapsing. But there's got to be a reason that they're called the new empire in comparison to the old empire.
That makes sense. That kind of reminds me to your first point, Harrison. Carrying on that name and stuff kind of reminds me of either the Byzantine Empire or the Holy Roman Empire, even though we know that's really Germany, right?
Yeah.
Carrying on the quote unquote legacy of the Roman Empire, but not really in a way, but kind of. Some people have argued that when the Roman Empire fractured, right, and obviously it became the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire, and then the Eastern turned into the Byzantine, that was the true remnants of the Roman Empire as we know it. And that the Western was really just a conglomerate of these barbarian tribes, and they were just the Western Roman Empire in all but name, but that Rome truly fell even at that time. Whatever. There's different, people saying that. But that what you said, Harrison, reminded me of that. Okay, so I'm sorry. Continue.
But you could make the point. You could make the point that the new empire is an analog for the Byzantines, and then the Union is an analog for the Holy Roman Empire, because they're sort of trying to. Baez is trying to do the same thing. That
I like that.
Juvens did.
So then,
and I do also like the theory that the new empire was also Baez and it failed. And he's just like, fuck it, I'll move on to something else.
The other idea is that I don't think Baez ever did the new empire stuff, but I think it's very, very possible that another Magi that's not spoken of.
That's what I was saying.
Was involved with it. And Baez and Kalul kind of took him down. Or like I had mentioned in the video as well, that Baez may have started it and then said, this is a piece of shit. What am I doing? I'm just like Juvens. And then ironically, this is the thing that makes it interesting, is that the old empire is around their Austria is around 500 years old. The Union is a little over 500 years old. And Austria is the latest known city to be built, one of the last border cities to be built by the new empire.
Really?
So it seems like they started to collapse around 500 years ago, and it took probably a couple hundred years for it to actually kind of fragment up. But instead of falling into chaos, they kind of just broke into different pieces. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I want to pick your brain about it, Harrison, obviously, because you're the Adeptus Historical. What? But
what?
You remember when Baez talks about how he started the Union up, that the people there were little more than cavemen and shit sniffers, right? Whatever the fuck he said.
Yeah.
500 years, that's a very short amount of time to get to from that point to where they're at now. If you look at,
Not really.
No, and think about it, relative like comparisons, right? Like we were shit sniffers 3,000 years ago.
They weren't actually like that though, because
he's just being very like demeaning and dismissive when he's telling Giselle that, right? When he's like,
yes,
500 years ago, you guys were just as stupid as you are now, and you shit sniffing pagan motherfuckers, whatever. That's what. So you're saying he's just talking shit.
I think it's interesting because we know that Baez was there throughout the Union in various different guises.
Of course.
And you can't really use sort of real life time scales as a comparison.
No, that's true. That is very true.
If we had an immortal wizard that was kind of guiding us through civilization, then it would probably
we'd be in space
as well, What do you mean? We are in space.
Well, you know what I mean.
A little bit.
We'd be all over space.
I think that, so the way that I've always seen it is that the Union was made up of several different clans and tribes and small petty kingdoms, because they call it a union for that reason. Herod the Great united he made the union of all the different tribes and clans and kingships. That's what Baez helped him do. So they couldn't have been that backwater, because there has to be some form of unification before that point, individual regions. You know what I mean? Just like in the North. It's like,
and I
basically...
think as well Sorry, Harrison.
Basically, Howard is Bethod. That's what I was going to say.
And also, when Baez says that specifically, I think he is referring specifically to the people in Adua. So, like, the people that were left over after the Maker left, and they were all kind of just like, oh, fuck, where's God gone? Like,
that's a good
Can you
point.
imagine? You wake up one day and
some bald fucker's come and murdered your God, and you're like, oh, fuck.
I bet you it was like the disciples. They came out one day, like, where's Jesus? Where'd he go? Jesus, hello. Wait, what do you mean there's a party? Crosses? What? Huh? Judas? Nah, Judas is mad cool. What are you talking? No. Wait. Ptolemy? No, you lying. You're lying. Ptolemy didn't do that. She died who? What?
Oh my god! If you think about it like that, it does make sense that the Maker is sort of like a semi-religious figure.
Semi? I bet you they worship the fucking shit.
I mean, even in the modern day, like everyone knows, like, oh yeah, the Maker.
Yeah, the house of the Maker. You don't go near that bad boy.
Yeah.
That fucking thing. I don't know. Well, there's a lot more we could get into, like in terms of like the history and backstory of Styria. But
yeah.
What else? Let's talk about Vitari getting way more screen time, right? Vitari, I think from the first trilogy, from the very first moment we saw her, right, it was very evident that she is competency incarnate, right? We just know she has her shit together. Wait, what was that, George?
I just said incarnate.
You did? I didn't even hear you. Oh, thank you. I probably subtly heard it without realizing. But Vitari has her shit together. She knows the business, knows the rules, knows how to handle situations and people. When she served Glokta, even though we were unsure of her loyalties or her allegiances in that first trilogy, especially before they're hanged, right? We saw that she served him well. We see that she's a good mother. Kids are always, primary number one. So who says you can't be a career woman and also be a loving mother? Who says that, huh?
Liberals.
No. Actually, is it liberals or is it conservatives? Which ones say it? I feel like they're both
I don't know. They
both
say
say the same thing, right?
It's the same thing. Yeah,
they're
they're both bastards.
But
you need to be a baby
again.
maker. You need to be a money maker. Which I can't be both.
Well, what?
But again, I find that interesting that Joe's carried this character over. And let's be frank, like in the trilogy, Vitari is just there to kind of bounce off Glockter and to show that Glockter is smart and intelligent and also has a soft spot. Like she isn't really a character on and of herself. She kind of is there to be a foil to him, and then in the end, he kind of overcomes her with his wit and is making this shit up about her kids and that. Like that is really what she's there for.
Yeah,
whereas she is her own agent.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I will agree that that's what she does, right? That is what she does. In terms of that's what she's there for, I'm not so sure. Because Joe does put her in situations independent of Glockta, like the whole fucking, I don't know, Born Identity chase scene in the first book with her and Pharaoh and Logan. You know what I mean?
Born
that crazy
Identity.
shit. Yeah, but you know what I mean? And she is fighting Logan one-on-one and doing pretty well until he commits a domestic violence,
a war crime.
He commits a hate crime and war crime all in one and just tosses her down some fucking stairs. And now she looks at Shivers with like Vietnam flashbacks, like Northerners. But and then so we see her. Yeah. I mean, you know what? You're right. I think because like that might be the one of the very few times we see her independent of Glockta, right? So I guess you are right. Yeah, you are right, George. That for the most part, she's used as a foil for Glockta in that initial trilogy. Funny thing is, she's more competent of a foil than Salt is in the end, because Salt is very old way of thinking, trying to merge pagan candle magic, right? But saying, Vitari, you listen to me and you do what I say. And Vitari goes, here, all right, it's because you're in a position higher than me. Fine, but well, what the fuck you doing over there with those candles and these naked old men? I don't get it, but whatever. All right. So, I think even though Glockta was always not scared, but like worried about what Salt would want to do with him eventually, Vitari was the one that he had to be much more aware of what she's doing and how smart she is and how much she observes of what Glock does, what he's doing on the side. And I do think that she's really shining here in this book. Harrison, do you want to comment on Vitari and Best Served Cold so far?
Yeah, I will say I think George makes a great point in that she's definitely, like, when we talked about her in the first trilogy, is definitely with the side of knowing how she is later on. So I think that's a good point, is that anytime Joe writes the characters, every now and then, especially in the first trilogy, there's some people who are written a little weaker, but I think that's what makes this book like the start of kind of the change, is because it really is feel like these side characters become even more interesting than you thought they already were. And Vitari is definitely, I think, a standout. She is like she is the most foil character I've ever seen. She's a foil for literally everybody. She's kind of got this characteristic where she's very smart and adaptable and is there for herself, but isn't like selfish at the same time. She just is doing her thing. She's working a job. She is, with Shivers, she's kind of, like you guys already mentioned, she's a little bit like, a little scary, but, you're also an idiot. With Monza, she's like, yeah, let's go, girl. Sisters forever. She's got the same way with Day, more fear. She's got like this, I know what you are, you little slime bag. And, with Casca, she's got this history with him as well. In a different way, she respects Casca, as we saw at the end of the fencing master, where she was also sad that Casca, was dead. And I thought that was, I thought that would add so much character whenever that people show emotion over an action being performed. I think that shows a lot of
characters that are kind of prone to emotion in the first place.
Oh yeah, like you're right. She's definitely not one to feel that way.
And I think that's why she's so interesting as well, because she is just so ruthlessly competent all the time. And I wouldn't say unemotional, but she's very good at putting up that facade and being tough. That when she does actually show that kind of emotion through that it really does stick out, and then you think, oh shit, no, this is serious because Vitari's sad about it.
Yeah, and if Vitari's sad, then you know.
Yeah, she's very good at giving perspective and helping out the other characters fill their roles. So I agree with that.
And you know what we'll see in the next half of the book, right? But she knows when to say no. She knows when to stop. She knows when.
Yeah.
This isn't for her. It doesn't matter how much money she might get from this. She did her job, and at this point, anything further is the returns are diminishing, right? And if anything, possibly, would give her like a net negative effect kind of thing. So
yeah,
she's super competent. I mean,
hella incompetent.
Hella, you know what I mean? Like imagine like Manza's competent, absolutely, but Manza is blinded by her roles.
She's very. The thing that makes her great is that she's very passionate and willpower driven and everything like that. But she's not very logical. She thinks with her heart, not her brain.
No. I mean,
in a tactical sense, yes, but and I mean in a decision making sense, absolutely not.
Well, I mean, in general, for everything else in her life, I would say she's very logical, right? However, when it came to this and her brother dying, then it's purely pure that animalistic instinct, which honestly, we can't fault Manza for. I mean, I think the majority of us would be the same way. And she's very driven, and she does try to think about it logically in some sense in terms of tactics, but maybe just pure shit luck of the draw kind of thing or whatnot. But every plan turns into a fucking shit show except for Gaba, which think about it, which makes sense though. The easiest person to get is obviously going to be probably going to go the smoothest, right? But in terms of everything else, it has been calamity after calamity. I will say if Vitari was the one that was wronged and had to get vengeance, on one hand, I'd be terrified because again, super competent. On the other hand, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Atari just kind of looked at the situation and realized, I'm alive. I'm out. Bye. I do think if her kids were killed or something, then Vitari is burning heaven and hell and the other side. She's shooting Aus in the face with a fucking a Magnum 9, a Colt 1911, and Aus is like, we don't even have gunpowder. He's like, you do now, bitch. Wow. Like, she's that confident. She's going into the future, coming back, and just all this kind of stuff. But, yeah. Vitari's scary. Yeah. Plus, she's a redhead, and I like redheads.
Me too.
Oh, I know you do, Harrison. I know you do. So...
is there anybody we've missed? Who are we missing?
I don't know. We talked about Friendly. We've talked about Manza. We talk about
Manza every fucking time.
We do talk about Manza all the time, and we have to because it's her book.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
It is interesting that she's the only character in the whole series that she basically gets her own book. Has anybody thought about that? I think it's awesome because it makes us a unique,
it is
story. But
it's
definitely interesting.
It is. I mean, like you just said, the other characters, we get so much progression, right? Through the journey that we go along with them. We do, absolutely. But Best Served Cold is first and foremost a Manza Mercado story. And I think we love that. I mean, and you're right. Original trilogy, shared across, right? Shared across multiple POVs. Is same thing with the heroes, Red Country, even. You can argue that Red Country is more of a Shy and Temple book than anything. What else? And then Age of Madness, same thing as the original trilogy. Shared across multiple POVs. It's more about the collective result, right? So Manza, she's nailing it, man. She really is. In terms of the exposure.
Indie press is good press, and that's definitely the case with her.
Exactly. The press of being the Butcher Capriel, the Serpent of Talents, the Pisser of Dukes,
Oh.
But considering that we talked about pretty much all the characters, right? Like the main characters we talked about: Morveer, Monza, Shivers, Friendly, Casca, and Shanked. We want to talk even more about him, but how this book left off. I mean, obviously we know this is a spoiler review, right, of the first half of the book.
Yeah,
there's so much I want to say about Shanks, but I'm personally going to hold that off until the end of the book, because then we get like into tinfoil theory hat time, whatever. But yeah, George. So we are pre-recording this, obviously, as you know, we all know, and the audience hopefully knows. So go ahead and hit us with the best meme of the week, since that's Georgie boy. Take it away.
Yeah, so like you said, Jeff, we are pre-recording these. We've got probably 4 episodes that are going to be lined up to be released because Harrison is getting on a boat for 2 weeks.
So... Yay! I'm scared of the ocean.
Oh my god!
So we can't exactly do the meme of the week that we normally would do, which is literally just the top-rated meme of the week on House of the Meme Maker. So instead, I'm going to go back and I'm going to pick out some of the rating or the memeing every chapter of Best Served Cold and just highlight a couple that were I thought were absolutely brilliant. And the first one is one of the very first ones from the beginning of this series, which was the Spaceman himself, the originator of House of the Meme Maker, and it's, wow, what a sweet young couple. I really hope they get to live a long and happy life together and that they aren't brother and sister. And that's from the first chapter. Then we have Tamil Ball. Obviously, we've got to mention Tamil Ball every single time. And, and the first law reader who started on Best Served Cold for some reason. Do I find out the name of the king in the parade? And it's like, that's the neat part. You fucked up because you started with Best Served Cold.
A man after my own heart. Stupid ass. Oh, I want to read it out of order. Shut the fuck up.
I don't want to hear it. Shut the fuck up, Jeff.
Jump off a balcony. Or no, matter of fact, go take a boat ride into the ocean.
You know what? How about you toss me off the top of a cliff at Partizarmo, huh? Did you think about that? Try to be more creative with your insults. Toss.
You know what? How about I'll toss you off the house of the meme maker. The meme maker. I will toss you off the house of the meme maker, goddammit. Where's Will? Where's Will? Tell me his house. Tell me his address again.
You believe you are biased, then I shall be Canadian, and this time I will smite you down, bald man.
Might as well have said you were Canadian.
This is what you get for sleeping with my daughter.
Oh, that is a thing I do. Sorry. Sorry. You're right. George, continue on. Any other memes?
Sorry.
And the final one that finishing off our trilogy of our favourite memers is the Body Niner. And it's
boy.
A picture of 2 unicorns. One's a very, very handsome unicorn running through a meadow, and the other one is... Well, it's just miserable. And
it's a Chernobyl unicorn.
This is Vosula's portrayal of Styria versus what Styria is actually like when Shivers gets there. Which I think is a perfect visual representation.
It's amazing.
Brilliant. So yeah.
I expected Jared Harris to show up and just ride that unicorn, just smoking a cigarette. What are lies?
The new empire had nuclear power plant.
Oh shit! And match,
they did. No, but I mean, Adjua did for about 20 minutes.
20.
That's a good one.
I fucking loved it. Just like when we all hung out together, half our conversation was first of all references.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody walking by, if they, they would be like, "What?
What the fuck are they talking about?
What's squelch?"
Oh dear.
Oh, that's great. Well, George, thank you for that. Do you have anything else you want to add to the meme of the multiple memes segment?
No, just thanks for everybody that's contributed and everyone that's been mentioned in the meme of the week. It's actually, I love how active the House of the Meme Maker is. Like, you got pretty much every day there's a new meme, and there's just
so much fun.
Exactly, and there's so little repetition, and everyone just gets along so famously. It's lovely.
Yeah, no, that's great. Love that. Everybody, honestly, even you know how like some people like will complain about like fan casting on the First Law subreddit, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
But in general, like both on the First Law subreddit and the House of the Meme Maker subreddit, just a bunch of good old lads. You know what I mean? Just well, I say lads. That's I'm sorry. Good people. Good people. Don't want to be gender specific, but you know what I mean. Just a bunch of good people all around, intelligent, fun, just great. And you know what? We talk about the subreddit a lot. First Law and the House of Meme Maker. I know there are some good people on the First Law Discord. I don't know the link. I mean, obviously I wouldn't know a link, but there is a link to it. If you go to the subreddit, there's like, it's somewhere there. People join it. It's fun. They're intelligent. You know, they well reasoned and well articulated analysis of the books and characters. Go for it there. You know, we have our own Discord, but I mean, it's just a bunch of us being stupid. So just go to the other one. But no, yeah, it's a great community. Love it. Speaking of community, though, Harrison, go ahead and drop some knowledge, some news. Go ahead.
Oh, excellent work, Jeffrey. Excellent transition. So for me,
segue.
I have that's fine too. I have to just put a hold on the documentary stuff. I just have too much going on right now, and it's too much work for me and my capabilities. So, but instead, I did release a different video. It's my reaction and kind of breakdown of Wizards and Warriors, the Magi Go to War. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen the video, but if you do want kind of a different look at it, or you want to fact check it, you can watch my video as much as you can fact check the First Law. I enjoyed making it, and I hope people like it. I'm gonna release it. Technically, by the time this episode comes out, it'll be come out a week ago. So it's a little confusing since we're not recording
Live.
Weekly.
They'll figure it out. It's fine.
They'll figure it out. You guys are big boys and girls, or right. Big people. Oh God,
big people.
All little people. You know, we don't discriminate.
No, full grown. Full grown to each and every one's own abilities. We are we're Marxist in terms of your growth spurts. Anyway,
so all peoples. I hope you enjoy it.
So yeah, everybody go on to the Circle the World podcast YouTube channel. We have it up. We have it. I think we have our links in our social media platforms. If you don't see it, we have it in our podcast platforms, whichever podcast app you use to listen. We should have it in the show notes there as well. I know we're going to be, by the time this episode records, we are also adding the link to our YouTube channel in every one of our show notes from here on forth, as well as we made a couple Reddit posts. I know I made one, and I don't go on Reddit a lot. I apologize, but I did show my face, my hairy face. So feel free to insult me. Go ahead, it's fine. You can't insult me any worse than I insult myself. But yeah, so we want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much, everybody, and yeah. We hope you enjoy Harrison's video. Harrison always, when he does his videos, he puts so much work into it, right, George?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's crazy, guys. Right? Whereas like if you and me did a video, it's kind of just going like, let's wing it, buddy. But Harrison goes,
it's the best I can do because you guys do all of the podcast work. You guys do the recording. Jeffrey does the big hosting. I think George has picked up more slack and lost the most sleep out of all of us. So I'm trying to make up for it, you know.
Well, Harrison's doing a great job. I love it. So yeah, we hope you enjoy what we're doing for you. Again, this is not about money. We don't give a fuck. We just love the fact that there's more First Law content out there for everyone to enjoy. And again, yes. we might not be the only curators, as you would say, or content creators, but and maybe we're not the best. But we're your favorites. You understand that. So, we want to thank you all for joining us on this lovely journey. It's been fun.
Yeah.
That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. This is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot.
Join us next week as we cover Sixes, The Eye Maker, and Prince of Prudence.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media. Have a look at the YouTube, and we have a website at circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review the episodes. Thank you all again for listening.
Why the hell am I doing this, Friendly?